Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Hey, Jody Lynn, I got a question for you.
I'll have an answer.
Okay. Do you participate in any mastermind groups?
I have in the past, but not currently.
Not currently, okay. But in the past, you have done that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you find them to be valuable. I mean, every story I've ever heard says that they're valuable. I presume that's also been true for you.
100%. I think when the tide rises, so do all the ships.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But one of the things that's really interesting about a mastermind is, like everybody knows what happens if you, well, at least they have some idea of what happens if you work with a coach or a therapist. You're a coach, our guest is a therapist. That kind of one-on-one work, we have a pretty good idea of what that's like. Mm-hmm. When you're working in a mastermind, you're not just dealing with one other personality. You got a whole bunch of personalities that have all these different perspectives. And it's kind of like doing a podcast with 20 guests all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you nailed it, the perspective side of things, because we all see the world so differently, and we can learn from that. Yeah.
And well, I've said many times here on the show, the best reason that I can think of for having continued to do the show long after we were really done talking about law of attraction was because of getting all the perspectives. Yes. I mean, I've learned more, and I've mentioned this 100 times. I get really pissed because I've learned more from the perspectives I disagree with. It just pisses me off royally. But it's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we learn most from the people that we disagree with, and of course we have to be open to that. That's always a good first step. But if you're open to it, and the same thing is true with the mastermind. My friend Joel Elston, he does the Monday evening show with me. Mm-hmm. Joel is part of a mastermind in the Richmond, Virginia area. And I think it was about, I'm going to say 6-7 months ago, something like that. He was in a meeting with the group. And one of the guys in the group said, Joel, you should really go do something crazy. You haven't done anything crazy in a long time. And Joel said, okay. So he sold his house and moved into a condo.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And what's interesting about that is not only that he did that, well, if you know Joel, you know that's the kind of thing he does, but he also started to explore his options beyond that. So now he's looking at, well, maybe I want to buy a house on a lake. There's a beautiful lake in Virginia that I used to live on that he's looking at. He's also looking at perhaps moving to Portugal. He's looking at perhaps moving out someplace on the West Coast. And he hasn't made any decisions on any of it, but all of it came about from one person in a mastermind group passing an idea to him that he should do something crazy. So you never know.
You never know.
Never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
We don't know what's going to happen today. All we know is that Zoey Kyriacou is going to give us some ideas about what's involved in her masterminds. And she might even have some stories to go along with that to kind of fill in the gap. So we're going to look forward to that. So Zoey, welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, we're excited too. So give us a little background. Tell us about, how you ended up doing this. I mean, I kind of imagine when you were in primary school and high school and so forth, it wasn't the first thing on your mind to say, I want to be a CEO of a mastermind counselor.
So I'm a licensed professional counselor. I specialize in anxiety and ADHD. Very passionate about empowerment and boundaries and assertiveness and all that good stuff. And believe it or not, I was that kid that
really
wanted to be a therapist when I grew up.
Wow.
Yes. And I couldn't have ever guessed that I would have had a group practice with people working for me and all that lovely stuff. But I knew I wanted to have my own thing, right? I wanted to have my own thing. So yeah, I was that little kid watching Frasier. And
Frasier, I love it. My television program launches a career.
Yes, and listening to Love Phones when I should have been sleeping and just tucking the radio under my pillow. So those older kind of like alarm clocks. There were also radios, just shoving it under my pillow so I could hear it. Yeah. When I was supposed to be fast asleep, but I was not. I was listening to Dr. Drew taking calls, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that one day. And here I am.
You are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I imagine it was just a straight path there, right? Nothing. It was just really straight.
Oh, just easy peasy, no bumps in the road, not even one. Yeah. Well, right. No. And that wouldn't be quite as fun to share, really.
Not
would
at
it?
all. No, it'd be
Yeah.
quite boring. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, right. Why does a kid want to be a therapist and think about, helping other people? We suffered a big loss in my family. We lost a sibling. I lost a sibling. My siblings and I lost a sibling, and my parents lost a child. And it's terrible. It's a terrible thing for anybody to go through. And I have tremendous empathy for people for families that go through that. And we were a family that didn't really talk too much. We didn't communicate too much, right? So thoughts and feelings about such a tremendous loss weren't really shared. Yeah. And I knew that I wanted people to have a space where they could. And if we go back in time and ask little Zoey, I don't know that I could have articulated it that way, right? Because at the time you just think, I'm going to help people, but it's more nuanced than that, right? It's giving empathy and creating a safe place that is judgment free with unconditional positive regard to sort of let it all out, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. And when you go through an event like that, because that is a very severe event to go through, both for your siblings and your parents. Sure. When you go through an event, that's an event that sticks. I mean,
it does.
Anybody I've ever talked to, I mentioned Joel. Joel lost an adoptive son that way. So another example. Yeah. And to this day, he obviously can't say that it's a good thing that he lost his son that way. He gained a lot of growth out of it, but that doesn't change the fact that the loss is still there and always.
No, for sure, the loss is life altering, but and I think loss in general encourages thought and feeling and introspection. And I'm still here. If you allow it to, I'm still here. What am I doing with my time that's good and meaningful and purposeful and productive? And but you are still altered from it.
Yeah. So absolutely. Through that alteration, now put yourself into a room where you're either talking with a coach or a therapist, or in a group situation, a mastermind situation. That probably scares the pants out of some people, I would think.
It's a scary thing to hop into a room or virtual, right, with somebody that's essentially a stranger. Who am I, right? Right, yeah. And to be probed, right, in this sort of intimate Socratic questioning sort of way, and to have to let it all out, to lay your soul bare for somebody to witness and hear and to reflect back to you. And I've done therapy myself, and I've been on that side of the couch, and it's scary. It's scary. And it's scary to confront yourself, right? To say, oh crap, now I got to go sit in front of this person and talk about my grief, and I might cry, and I don't want to do any of those things.
Right.
But you do it, and there can be some great catharsis from that.
See, I'm sitting here thinking it's way easier to do it in front of a group of strangers than your immediate family. Like my personal development journey started with big group sessions of different personal development courses. And the very first one that I went with my sister. My dad convinced her to go along, and I went with her. And I know that I bit my tongue in certain regards because I didn't want her to see me in a certain way or say the wrong thing, and then that it was used against me or whatever. But other groups that I was in where there's no family, these people don't know me at all. And after this weekend or after this group, I'll probably never see them again unless I choose to. So all right, I don't care. It's way easier, in my opinion.
Okay.
Let it all that is fair. That is very, very fair.
It's still difficult. Don't get me wrong. I think meeting yourself wherever you're at in this moment and choosing to bring up all of this stuff instead of, stuffing it down once again, that takes a lot of courage in itself.
Yeah, that always does. Because what you're really doing is you're revealing something to somebody else or to some other people's that you don't reveal to other people. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's how you end up in that situation in the first place. So where's the comfort level in that? There isn't any.
Yeah. Right. And sometimes you might not be proud of the way you handled the situation, your actions, your words, your mindset, whatever it is. And there's lots of shame around that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Zoe, that's a big one, isn't it? Shame.
Shame, vulnerability. This idea of being seen and perceived is hard for people, right? This kind of like, don't look at me, don't see me. And you are confronting all those things in therapy, one-on-one, couples, or group, right? You are confronting shame and guilt. You are allowing yourself, hopefully, to be at least somewhat vulnerable and for someone to see you. These are scary things. They can be for some people.
So how do you, I mean, both of you do this with clients. How do you guys help your clients get into the space where they can do this? Because especially with the first session, it's going to be the toughest one. It's the one where they're least willing to open up, okay, tell me something that's going to fix me, that kind of thing.
I tell my clients my philosophy and my approach so that they can start getting the hang of Zoey, right? So I tell them, you're here, you're spending your time, your money, and your energy. I'm going to do my best to fill you up with tools so your toolbox is full and you can carry, your metaphorical toolbox is full. You can carry it out of here and start, the process right away. And I tell them that the therapeutic relationship, that alliance, is super important to me, more important than any cognitive behavior therapy or mindfulness skills or whatever I'm going to impart. That the relationship that we build from now on is my highest priority. And I really do work towards that. I want them to think, yay, I have therapy today. Not like, oh, for the love of God, here we go again. I got to go. So I do work hard in us having, listen, I say we're going to laugh and we're going to cry, right? We're going to have it all. We're going to tell some jokes, but you're going to show me like, hey, you want to see the text you sent me this weekend? Hell yeah. Show me that text, right? Like we're going to talk, we're going to really chit chat, and we're going to have a relationship, a real relationship, right? With boundaries, of course, but we're going to have a relationship. And I think that helps.
Well, connection is certainly going to be at the root of the whole thing, because that's what they're trying to do with you. They're trying to make a connection that will, in their minds, hopefully benefit them, that will help them get past whatever it is they're trying to deal with. So connection is going to be a big piece. And that makes sense, because connection is at the root of all human relationships anyway. That's why we have relationships, funnily enough.
Yes.
Amazing how that works. Connection, relationship. There we go. Okay. But in the course of doing that, of course, we're also coming up against ourselves. We're coming up against our past histories, the people we deal with, the people who frustrate us, the experiences and events that we figure didn't go our way that should have gone our way, and then now we're in the therapy session. And that's the challenge right there. Just working through the muck. That's the word I associate most with coaching and therapy. Muck. There's a lot of muck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of muck. Yeah. People come to you when they are mired in the muck. Absolutely.
In the muck. Yes. Welcome to the muck.
Hey, who can raise their hand and say they haven't ever been in the muck? I think we all have at some point or another.
Yeah.
100%.
So this whole idea of I mean, I know you can't reveal anything about individual clients. I wouldn't want you to, but give us an idea of the kinds of things that you work with people about.
Yeah. So because I specialize in anxiety and ADHD, I tend to get what I call the trifecta, which is anxiety, ADHD, and depression, right? So I get a lot of that. And I've become passionate about boundaries and assertiveness and empowerment because what I have found through working with people, especially the anxious folks, is that many of them, what is contributing to them being anxious is anticipating the emotional needs of other people, right? I don't want to do that because he might get upset. I don't want to say that because she might get mad or think this thought about me that I would never want somebody to think about me.
Right.
And so they're living in this state of likability, right? Wanting to be liked, and from likability all the way to please don't abandon me. But they don't realize it and they don't see it until we start talking about it and getting into it. And then we can see, oh, wait a minute, we've got some porous boundaries happening here. We can a lot of times, rewind the tape and find that maybe it was from some dynamics with mom and dad, not because mom and dad intended to raise a people pleaser. They didn't intend that. Here we are, right? Things happen. We're all doing this life the first time, maybe.
We can do a whole show on that one.
Yeah, we could do a whole separate thing. Yeah, that we remember in this moment anyway. And so, right, these people are coming in with anxiety symptoms, and they're super high functioning folks, right? They're working, they're parents, they're caring for their elderly parents. They're going to baseball and soccer and karate 1,000 times a week. They're doing it all, but at the sake of themselves, right? So I'm concerned about everyone else's emotions, except now I'm burning out. So by the time they've come in through my doors, they're symptomatic. And we've got some, our work cut out for us a little bit, but it's treatable. We can do the work.
That's actually where it's a little bit different from being a coach, because coaching, Jody, and you correct me on this, but coaching, you're not really going after that so much. You're going more after helping to motivate them to make mindset changes or whatever, so they can make, broader changes in their life experience rather than try to go in on a particular issue.
Well, see, I've traditionally focused on money. But what I realized that it's never about money. So it's always the broad issue, but we start at what they think it is so that we could get to the other things, because everything is impacted by everything. Like that saying, and I don't particularly like it, but it seems to be true, of how you do one thing is how you do everything. There is this relationship or this reflection in all areas of our life. So if you're having an issue with money, in the case where I'm coaching, you're going to have similar reflections in relationships, at work, at home, at all of these things with your body. It's all connected, just like we are. So I don't really focus on that specific, like that anxiety piece. It's more of a broader conversation of the things that they think are causing the anxiety.
Where Zoe, you go in more on the anxiety. You're focusing in on the particular.
We are looking for symptom reduction. Yeah, we're with therapy, especially when you accept insurance, there are certain things that are required of you, like diagnoses and treatment plans, and medical necessity is a big deal, right? Especially with insurance. So we are targeting symptom reduction through evidence-based practice. Yeah.
Do you find yourself ever thinking about crossing over? I say that because my friend Joel keeps coming up in the conversation. I can tell he's going to come up a few times because he also has ADHD. He considers ADHD to be a superpower. I mean, there's like a whole bunch of overlap going on here. But he was a therapist who later became a life coach. He left the therapy behind because he felt that the limitations of therapeutic licensing stopped him from doing things he wanted to do. So I'm kind of curious, do you have a similar thing going on?
A similar thing going on, where earlier this year, just a few months ago, really, I decided to start I call it like the sister company, right? So Mastermind Counseling is for therapy. So I opened up Mastermind Coaching so that I could offer that as well. And also, if I reach people that are out of New Jersey where I do therapy and they still wanted to work with me, I would be able to offer that out of the state, out of the country. It doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, right.
So, coaching isn't governed in the same way, but with the acknowledgement that coaching is not therapy, right? It's different. And so it would have to be different. We wouldn't be necessarily working on symptom reduction and no diagnoses. We're not, we wouldn't be doing that. So yes, to your point, yes, I just started that just a few months ago.
So I guess it's not really fair for me to ask which one you like yet.
Yeah, ask me next year or in a couple years. It's something that I've been thinking about, though, right? It's like this grander scheme of like, where am I going and where am I headed? And will I like one more than the other in the long term? But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, you're making the options open to yourself. That's probably the best thing you can do.
Yes. I love options. Absolutely.
Options are good things.
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt about that. But very cool. The mastermind approach to counseling, I mean, I think most of us have heard about group therapy sessions, but calling it a mastermind is an interesting take. Why did you choose that route?
So, well, I chose the word mastermind as a play on I'm going to teach you how to master your mind.
Oh,
right?
I see.
Beautiful.
Yes. So when we work on things from anxiety, depression, or whatever else, and we're using cognitive behavior theory, we're basically saying, hey, you're in control of your thoughts and your behavior and your behaviors. You're in control of your thoughts and behaviors. And when we get those two things to a healthier place, we can start regulating your emotions. It's depicted oftentimes, the CBT model is depicted as a triangle, right? Where these three elements are connected: thoughts, emotions, actions, or behaviors, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's a play on you're going to master your mind, right? And I'm going to give you the key, hopefully. So yeah.
So not quite the same thing as a more traditional mastermind group.
Right.
So you go to that therapy session, you can be pretty sure that you're not going to be getting advice from everybody in the room.
Nope, it's just me. It's just me. And I have run groups in the past, and we're looking at doing some workshops moving forward. So more group style things to come. But for your typical individual session, it's just me and the client.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Which one do you like better, the one-on-one or the group?
I do like one-on-one.
Yeah.
I do like that. Yeah, there's a little bit of a thrill of a new client coming in and, conceptualizing their case and what direction we're going to flow in, and all that is really, I find it really cool.
It makes sense to me. I mean, I considered becoming a coach at one point. I decided it really wasn't for me, but I like the idea of the one-on-one better than the group, just for that reason, because I don't really I can certainly connect to an audience. I have given talks before, so I know how to do that, but it's just not quite as satisfying as connecting with a single individual.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's just because I'm focused on the one individual. I haven't quite figured it out, but it's more satisfying to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that relationship building. I think is just so awesome. That alliance that you have created is just, I think it's great. Not too many people can say that they're doing that for a living, right? Like it's wonderful.
Well, I don't even do it I'm doing this podcast not for a living, just because I like doing the podcast. And oh, by the way, a whole bunch of people are listening. Oh yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is to talk about the first time that I received an email from a listener. I've been doing the show now for 13 years. Next month will be the anniversary.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. Within the first few years, we got our first email. And I love telling the story because my reaction was first to be stunned. And then the second thing was to say to myself, what the hell have I been saying? Like, have I been offending people? Well, I hadn't thought about this being something that goes to listeners, because I was doing it for myself. This was actually therapy for me. That's why I started the podcast, because I couldn't afford a therapist and I couldn't afford a coach. I couldn't afford any of that, but I knew how to do a podcast. So I'll do that. And it worked great, by the way. It was very effective, but then the audience comes along like, oh shit.
When a client says, what you said to me last week, I was really thinking about that. And I'm just like, what did I say?
Yeah, right.
Like, fill me in. What did I say? And my memory's pretty good. And I can usually kind of pull it back up after a minute, but I always get that thing of like, I said something to you. What did I say?
Jody, you don't just do this show with me. You have your own podcast. So you have quite a bit of podcasts. Do you get that same thing in the same way?
Yeah. Like, was it good? What, did anybody like it? Yeah. Was anybody listening? Oh, is that too harsh? Like, especially when you really say something, like the mic drop moment. And actually, my friend and I are going to start another podcast.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. And we were talking about that. It's going to be the Woo and Wealth Show. So a different way of looking at money. And, we're both from the financial industry, and she's also a mortgage broker. So we want to talk about that. And it was like, yeah, there's some things that I want to say that I necessarily wouldn't say in a one-on-one client thing, but that people in society need to hear. Like, while you and I were just talking about the home that my husband and I are building and whatever, and the reality of what we want versus getting carried away or swept away in the dream. Like, I think there's a lot of things that I will say in this forum that'll be like a mic drop moment. Then I'll be like, "Ooh, I wonder if that landed or if that went horribly wrong later."
Right.
Well, that's the thing about a mic drop moment. I mean, we often associate that as being something that affects the listener, but it actually affects us more than it affects the listener.
Totally.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize that, but the mic drop is actually scariest for the person who dropped the mic.
It's true.
Right.
It is. It's really true. So but give us some more insights, Zoey. Tell us a little bit more about what do people experience when they're in part of either the mastermind or the one-on-ones when they're working with you?
What do they experience? Like, what might a session be like?
Yeah, like what are some of the kinds of topics? I mean, you've already mentioned that it's the anxiety, ADHD, and depression. I forget what you call that. Triathlon. I forget.
Oh yeah, I call it the trifecta, right? Because ADHD,
of course. Right.
ADHD and co-occurring disorders is definitely
it's a good bet, is what you're saying. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. A client will come in. When I say come in, it's either in person or in a virtual, right? And I like to keep it really open and just say, catch me up. Catch me up on life, right? And allow for their mind to go to whatever, right? It could be, I remember this thing happened when I was 4. Or it could be a thing happened today, or they catch me up on the week, right? So I like to sort of leave it open for them to lead me to where they need to go in that session. And I follow them, right? So they're conducting, they're leading in a way. And I'm just sort of on this journey with them, offering perspective and insight along the way. And sometimes gently confronting, because sometimes people need to be confronted on their stuff because we don't always see ourselves and how we're contributing to situations and how we're contributing to our own angst. Or how we're contributing in relationships, right? Like how we're showing up in relationships that might be a little crummy, but we don't see it because we're not perfectly self-aware 100% of the time, right? So sometimes we need to be challenged and confronted a little bit, so we can expect to have some of that. But interpersonal relationships. So I don't do couples work personally, but interpersonal relationships have been coming up a lot lately. So partnerships, living together, marriages, it is a hot topic right now. So again, people come in thinking, well, I'm anxious or depressed, and they are, right? We can see they're symptomatic, but we dig at it a little bit. And we find like maybe the marriage isn't so hot. Partnership isn't going so well, or maybe even deeper, there could be some psychological manipulation or abuse happening, which is terrible and horrible. And how do we navigate that? So yeah, relationships have been coming up. That's a theme for sure the past couple of months.
Somehow that's not surprising.
Yeah, not really. It's not.
I mean, Jody Lynn can confirm this. There are basically 3 topics in general. There's money, there's relationships, and there's health. Yep. And pretty much everything falls under those 3.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not terribly surprising that relationships are coming up. But I will say, I'm not also surprised that it's coming up a lot. There seems to be a lot going on generally in society right now, certainly from the perspective of most people. And when stuff seems like it's kind of wild and out of balance, that's when relationships are going to be challenged as well. So it makes sense. There's going to be more difficulties with relationships. Not that there weren't before. It's just there's going to be more of it.
I think the fact that, so a therapy business, there's ebbs and flows throughout the year. We tend to get busier in the fall when everybody's going back to school and parents are just kind of feeling like they're at their limit, or around the holidays, because holidays can be historically really tough for people. But I think it's a very telling sign that right now we're in the middle of summer and the phone has been ringing, right? The phone has it's been ringing. People are seeking therapy. So yes, to your point, I think people are going through it. And if people are going through it in their everyday lives, are their relationships not also going to take some of a hit too? Sure. I agree.
And it's encouraging, actually, that the phone is ringing, because I mean, I remember when I was young, the idea of going to therapy, that was almost unacceptable in society. It wasn't quite unacceptable, but it was close. It's like you only did that if you were weak. You only did that if, you were desperate, or, about to be put into a mental hospital or something like that. It wasn't for the average person. That's something that has evolved throughout my lifetime in a major way. And 100%. I'm glad it did. I mean, because, the whole thing has become a lot more open and a lot more, okay, I'm willing to deal with what's going on. So hearing that people are calling, that's actually pretty encouraging to me. And I mentioned this because I get the impression that when I look at the panoply of stuff that has happened during my lifetime on a societal basis, it's massive. But I also am aware there are a lot of people who feel like, it's the same old. It's been the same thing that's going on as what happened when they were kids, and what happened with their parents when they were kids, and so on and so forth. Nothing has changed. That's the viewpoint that a lot of people are going through. So knowing that people are actually picking up the phone and calling, that's good news as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. It's good news. So at my practice, we see 18 and up only, although I do see online requests, in local Facebook groups and things like that, people asking for help with their children as well. But for us, we do 18 and up. So the Gen Z crowd is super open about the therapy, right? Oh yeah, I told my friend I was in therapy today and what we talked about and this and that, right? So they're very, very open about it. And then we go to the millennials, and they have become more open about it, maybe not quite as much as their younger peers. But they're there, they're coming, and they're opening up, and they're challenging the stigmas that they might have had, or their boomer parents may have been holding, which is awesome. And then for sure, we've got some Gen Xers too, that just know that they need the help. So the stigma of therapy is reducing. The phone is ringing. That is great. I'm still seeing, we don't prescribe medication. I give referrals to psychiatrists and things like that. Right. I'm still seeing a little bit of hesitance for some people with taking that referral and admitting that they could benefit from, even if it's a short-term course of something to sort of stabilize and regulate. But okay, we are making progress.
And Joey Lynn, it's not quite the same thing with coaching, because coaching is relatively a recent phenomenon by comparison to therapy. I would say probably like the last 20 years or so, where it's kind of emerged and comes to the top. So you don't really have the same kind of thing. But talk a little bit about how your experience has been just in that period of time that you've been doing the coaching. Do you see transition happening? Do you see more and more people accepting it?
I'm not sure if it's like the bubble that I live in, or like the echo chamber, or if it's the real world, if you will. But everybody nowadays is going through some sort of personal development, like coaching or a group, or like they're part of this group or they're a part of that group. It seems to be like the new thing. As when I started personal development in my like early 20s and going to courses and stuff like that, it was a pretty small room, like 20, 30 people as the group. And now, that class runs, that specific one I'm thinking of runs, a bunch of different classes all over the city on one weekend. Like it's just exploding. I think people are seeking the skills, the skills that nobody ever dropped in our toolbox as we were growing up. And it makes me wonder, I think therapy is a wonderful thing. And my question would be, are we missing out because we're not taught some of these really important life skills And is that why we're having more problems on the back end of our lives, like as adults? And I just really 100% transparent. I look at my brother and I were very different people, but we were very close growing up. We're 13 months apart. And I went down the journey of like personal development and courses and books, and like, I want it all. I want to grow. I want to learn. I gathered all of the tools that I could. That's just been my focus. I want to know about me, what makes me tick, how do I look at the world? How can I change that? All of these things. And I've had anxiety and things like that I've had to deal with along the way, and getting help with those things. Whereas he was like Stonehenge, like, I talked to nobody. I didn't, to be honest, until the last few years, I didn't know that anything bothered him, or that, that he was struggling with depression or like different things. He didn't open up about those things. Like, my brother was a rodeo clown when we were growing up. So he life of the party. Right. Never takes anything seriously. Like, I was the serious, like, reflective, like, pontificating child. And he was the one that was like, woo, let's go party, right? We were so different in that way. And I think that's what drove us. But now he's going to therapy, and I see how much growth he's doing. And he was depressed, or he's gone through depression and other mental health issues and stuff like that. And I kind of wonder, are our paths so differently because I started to gather these tools along the way, and I didn't get to a breaking point where he did, and then he broke down, and then not had to go to therapy, but like that hospital, like, it was the realistic choice there. He needed to get help because something was wrong. But I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if you guys do.
So imagine what adults would be like if in their family, they're a family of origin, and in the schools, we were actively working on and teaching communication, real honest communication. Let it out, guys, right? And we were working on things like emotional intelligence, right? Emotional awareness. So just to give you an example, I just right before our chat, I was in session with somebody, and they were discussing a tiff they had with their partner. And they couldn't articulate how they felt about it, either to the partner or in session. And so throughout session, as we were processing the story, I kept stopping the client and saying, what's that feeling? Let's give it a name, right? Let's assign a word to it, right? Is it sad? Is it mad? Is it glad? Right? That kind of thing. But imagine if from the time we're kids, we're starting to do that and developing that ability to identify, label, and express the emotion, right? And it's a safe place, hopefully, right? One would hope that it's a safe place to say, Mommy, I'm really sad. Daddy, I'm mad, whatever. And now we can sit eye to eye and truly have a conversation about that. Okay, what happened? How did we get here? What can I do to support you? You're having big feelings right now. Big feelings are okay. You get the idea, right? Yeah. I really think we would have a different adult, right, at the other end of that, 100%. If we were starting those skills early on. And so what I see a lot of times is when I get that millennial client in the door, and they are coming, like I mentioned, for many of us, me included, we had that boomer generation parent that, and not all, making a generalization, right? But that was a bit more stoic and a bit more emotionally reserved. And we don't do things like that. We don't talk about those things, and you keep it to yourself. Stick it in a closet, put it under the rug. I don't care, but we don't talk about it. Especially when there's cultural considerations too, right? Maybe we had immigrant parents, and you just especially don't do that, or mom and dad are in very specific roles, gender roles in the family, and a lot of factors really. But I think we would have a different adult if we were approaching kids a different way.
I love that. I also have a little bit of of questioning about it, because
Yeah.
as first of all, as a boomer, if it were just the boomers and everybody else to that was leaving all that behind, I'd say great, I'd love it, but I don't believe it, because from what I see, I mean, I'll be 3 years divorced in well, 3 years ago my ex left me, and there'll be the divorce next February. In that time period, I was thrust back into the single society for the first time in 23 years, which was a shock, particularly with the internet. But one of the things that really shocked me was discovering just how much that incorrectly described stoic attitude is being pushed on single young men today by other single men. And I mean, it's actually bigger than it was before I got married. And
Crazy.
I mean, I was telling that to a female friend of mine recently. She didn't believe it. I said, it really is true. She says, no, you're just buying into their desire to be, macho and all that kind of thing. I said, well, yeah, but you read enough of this stuff, you start to say there's a pattern going on here. Because you see the interactions, you see the way that the younger men react to it and so forth. It's there. It's really strong.
Yeah. So behavior gets modeled in your family of origin, right? Mom and dad set the tone. And we could either do what Jody Lynn did and say, I want to know more about me and human behavior, what makes me tick and other people tick and that sort of thing. Or we continue with the path of the behavior that was learned and say, well, dad was quiet. I guess that's what men do, or that's what women do, or whatever, whoever, right? And so does stoicism apply only to boomers? No, of course not. Yeah. So it doesn't, right? And it could go on and on forever if we don't break the loop somewhere and say communication is so key to every relationship, parent, child, romantic partner, friendships, your boss, your employee, whoever. We got to talk.
And by the way, just I like to make this point whenever the topic of stoicism comes up, but stoicism as it's presented today is not stoicism. Not the way it was, it's actually quite different from what it was.
It's a wonderful philosophy, actually.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
But it's nothing like it's presented today.
Yeah. No. And I would actually recommend everybody to go get a book with quotes or sayings or phrases or whatever you can find on Stoic philosophers and the things that
read Marcus Aurelius. I mean, he's like the leader of it. Read his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's eye opening. Just first of all, how different it is from what is perceived to be Stoicism today,
right? From the way that we use the word.
Healthy a lot of it. It's actually very healthy philosophy.
Very healthy. And if you start to look at modern psychology, namely CBT, cognitive behavior theory, and you look at the teachings of Stoic philosophy, you're going to find a lot of parallels, even some with Buddhism. There's definitely parallels there. So, yeah.
Very cool. Did you actually take some of that and incorporate it in your practice? I'm just kind of curious.
I do. And
you do?
I do. And I actually will tell people, hey, there's a great Instagram account. And they're also on all the social media platforms. And I can't think of the gentleman that runs the account off the top of my head, but the name of the account is The Daily Stoic. And he's always putting out quotes and things like that from the Stoic philosophers. And I say, go find it. And I keep the 365 book that this gentleman put together in the office. And sometimes I'll pull it out and say, here you go. No, because I think there's a lot of value there for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love that. And not the least of which is the value that you're rewriting in people's minds what Stoicism actually is.
Yeah. Yep.
Because Stoicism is, and rightfully so, in its current form, has developed something of a negative pitch to it.
Yeah.
Which the original doesn't deserve. The modern one deserves, but the original doesn't deserve at all. So I'm glad that you're doing that.
Yeah. And okay, so maybe here today we can say, instead of saying, my dad was a Stoic man, we can say he was not really communicative, right?
Yeah.
He was quiet. He was reserved emotionally. There's definitely other words we could be using for sure.
I would even go so far as to say, in the more negative cases, he was emotionally repressed, because that's what the modern Stoicism says, which is not at all what original Stoicism says, but it's what the modern version says. You're not allowed to show, especially if you're a male. I think it's true for both. You're not allowed to show it if you're a female either, but especially if you're male, you're not allowed. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be emoting at all.
Doing that, right?
which is insane, but that's what.
That would be like life without color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. That's so important. And I think that the depth of emotion that we have on the negative side equals the depth of capacity for the emotion on the opposite side of whether that's joy, love, excitement, happiness, all of that. Like I feel, and maybe it's just my perspective on life because I've been through a lot. I feel as though all of those dark moments where I was really down, that I built the capacity to feel love even greater.
Yep.
Capacity
Yeah.
for love.
There's a quote from one of the Stoic philosophers. Now, let's see. Was it Heraclitus? I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. But it says, the soul is dyed the color of its thoughts. Which is essentially what CBT is kind of telling us, right? Hey, your thoughts are going to elicit emotions, right? But I mean, that language, though, right? Your soul is dyed the color of its thoughts. I mean, you know, to your point about life without color, like emotions are color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
I know.
That's fabulous. I love that. So talk about some of the other things you incorporate. I mean, we know that you incorporate some Stoic philosophy, so that's great. But what else?
What else gets incorporated? Let's see. So we try to break it down, right? Like kind of get into the feeling, right? I keep on the table in front of where the client sits and a big like metal emotion wheel that is actually very colorful, right? Okay. So it's, if you look up emotion wheel, you'll find, you know, it's broken down into all these colors, kind of, you know, very spectrum like. And I really do try to encourage people to not be afraid of that. And so often you find, especially now when we have, you know, these things, that people are sort of avoiding their thoughts and feelings, right? And I'm here to say, no, we're going to actually, we're going to bring them to the fore. Yeah. Yeah. You don't get to run away from them here. We're going to really confront them and get into the meat of them and give them a word and give them the space to be here. And one of the homework assignments that I give people more often than not is, hey, from now until the next time you see me, I don't care if it's only 5 minutes. I want you to sit in silence. And I'm not asking you to meditate. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to put away your phone, take your AirPods out, for crying out loud, turn off the TV, be in a room by yourself. And I know it's scary to be alone, but I'm asking you to just be there with yourself. And we're going to keep doing that until you get okay with hanging out with yourself. Because we are meant to be our own best friend, right? Us and our consciousness, right? This meat suit that we're in, and the roommate in here, the thinker, I call him or her. We should be really good with each other, and oftentimes people are not good with.
Oh, that's like a rule of thumb. I mean, just about anybody you meet, you can be pretty sure they're treating themselves horribly.
Yeah,
there are a few exceptions.
It's the thing,
and they're often on their own, you know, narcissistic or whatever thing. But for most people, you know, it's like, you know, beat the crap out of yourself, and if you don't do well, do it again.
Yeah. And I will ask people, would you, the thing that you just said to yourself, would you say that to your bestest friend in the whole world? And they say, oh God, no, would never say that to them. So why are you doing it to yourself? So that's a homework assignment I give to a lot of people is, right? Just you for a little bit and see what comes up. And the first time will be like, I don't know, I just kind of sat there. Okay, great. And maybe they say that the second time. But as we start to continue doing it and they get more comfortable with it, the feelings come up, right? And I have people come back and say, oh my goodness, I was feeling this or feeling that, or I cried for the first time in I don't know how long, because that's how shut down people are from experiencing their own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, that makes total sense. The other part of that comes with it, of course, is that if they're in that state, if they're in that place where they're treating themselves that way, the idea of being kind to themselves is foreign. I mean, it's just not part of the experience because that's not what they've been doing. So, I mean, I imagine you do this, but encouraging them to be kind, that like it's going to draw a blank. They have nothing to draw on.
Yeah.
Yes, I just had a relatively new client say to me, I didn't realize being kind to myself was going to take this much work, which really like,
Aww.
I know. Yeah. And yes, in the beginning, it is effort, right? Changing your mindset, changing the way that you think. I can make it sound easy for you, but doing it in practice we're talking about a lifestyle change here, really. Changing the whole way that you've been thinking about yourself and your life. So yes, it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute.
And if you keep doing it, it actually does get easier. That's the thing that we tend to forget about. We tend to think if it's hard the first time, it's going to be hard the rest of it. So I don't have to do this anymore. Forget this. But it's not the way it works.
No, because we're establishing new neural pathways, but you got to give it time and you have to be consistent. Right. So that's what we ask is please be patient for yourself and the process and be as consistent as you can be as we're discovering new ways of thinking and talking out loud too, because that counts as well.
I'm glad you mentioned the neural pathways because I mean, anybody who hears that phrase, they say, okay, so I established a new neural pathway. Well, why am I still thinking negative?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this a light switch? Isn't that the way it works?
If only, right?
Right.
We'd be out of business. Yeah, the magic pill, the magic wand. But you know, and that's another thing is I'll ask clients like that magic wand or magic button question. If we could press the magic button or wave the wand over it and you wake up tomorrow and everything is as you wish it could be, and you can be as fantastical as you want, that oftentimes people aren't fantastical, right? They're not asking for a castle on the clouds. They want just some small improvements. And when you start to put it that way, it's like, okay, but you can do that, right? Like you're capable and able, but sometimes you need to ask it in that way for people to realize, oh, wait, I'm not asking for the world. Like I'm asking for some subtle things here. It's
there's a time to ask. There's a time to take the small steps and there are times to take the big leaps. And it's usually better to take the small steps first so that you can take the big leaps. You try to take the big leaps first, it doesn't work too good. You fall over, you trip over your own foot more than anything else.
I'm with you. The smaller objectives to the bigger goal. And hopefully by taking those small steps and then getting reinforced, almost like naturally reinforced, like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And I did it. Behavior that gets rewarded goes repeated. So if you feel that little intrinsic reward of doing it, you're likely to go on to the next step.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny how when we get to the point where we've been doing this kind of thing long enough, often enough, that we have not only established that neural pathway, but we've ingrained it. So it's now part of our thought patterns. It's part of our behavior pattern. And then it becomes easy to make the next one. And we almost forget how hard it was the first time, but we don't forget entirely. And then we look back, we say, wow, why was that so hard then? It's easy.
Right. And that's why fact checking, I call it fact checking. That's why fact checking is so important to be able to look back and be like, wait, I did do that. And I did do that. And maybe right now I am being a little bit hard on myself or negative or irrational because I have the facts to support that I can do these things.
Yeah.
Open up the journal and write it down. Write those facts down somewhere so you can refer back to them.
Or whatever the process is. It doesn't have to be one particular process, but if it's journaling, great, because that's one of the best ones. But whatever your process is, at least do the process.
Do the process, please. Yes. Yeah.
Jody Lynn, she's pretty much like one of our, our best friends here, because this is the kind of stuff we always talk about, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I could talk about it anytime.
But unfortunately, we are running out of time for this one, so we have to start wrapping things up. One thing that we like to do, that we actually have 3 things we like to wrap up every program. The first one is to find out from you, because, there may be somebody listening who actually thinks Zoey is the person I need to talk to. We should actually make it easy for them to find you. It's a good idea.
I would love that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So if you would like to work with me, I would also like to work with you. And if you're in New Jersey, or Florida, because I have my telehealth license in Florida as well, then we could do therapy together. But if you're outside of those states or outside of the country, then we could do some coaching type of work, especially if you're somebody experiencing ADHD and needs some executive functioning skills, we can absolutely do that. So for any of those things, really, you would go to www.mastermindcounseling.com.
I love it when people keep it simple.
Yeah, there's a little button, push it, and you can fill out the contact form, and we'll get back to you. That's it.
But then my VA loves it because she can just plug the link into the show notes. It makes it really, really simple that way.
Okay, great. And if you want just more of the fun stuff, the videos and the content and things like that, you can find me on Instagram at Your Therapy Godmother.
Beautiful.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That was a nice choice. Yeah, that was a good
Thank
one.
you.
Second thing we like to do, or that I like to do, I like to go to Jody Lynn to kind of tie everything together because first of all, she's really good at it. And second of all, she's really good at it. And third, she comes up with really good stuff. Does that make you she's good at it?
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm going to try.
Okay.
I always think
So bear in mind that trying with her is like, way beyond over the mountain compared to most people. But,
Well, he really built you up now.
I know. Every time.
I'm doing that too. I mean,
Just to give me anxiety. Oh my goodness. Well, good thing you're here, Zoe.
Yeah, good hands. Yeah.
There's a couple of things that I want to touch on today. The first one that I think is so incredibly important is you were talking about as a society, there's so many people that are shut down emotionally. They don't even know, they can't even describe the feeling, put a word to it. I when I started my emotional healing journey, I knew happy, sad, mad, and that is all the emotions I felt. So that color wheel that wheel of emotion is so incredibly important. And I think on a broader context, this conversation is so incredibly important because when we're shut down and we're not conscious of those thoughts and those feelings, we've completely shut down our ability to co-create with the universe. What this show is all about, the law of attraction. You shut down the consciousness piece, or being conscious of how you're feeling, or allowing yourself to experience the color of life, which is emotion, like the Stoics say, and like we were saying today. So I think that you've brought that piece back in, and that's what you're doing with the world, is allowing them a space where they can connect with their emotions, where they can understand them, and then they can choose, and they can be a part of this conscious creation of their life. So that is such important work. So thank you so much for that, Zoe.
Thank you. I think, what therapy doesn't totally allow us to do is, because it starts to go into the spiritual, and there's a fine line. Some clients are all for it, and some clients you tread lightly, is go into that metaphysical, right? And how you are the creator of your reality. And I believe that very strongly. And I've been just consuming metaphysical books this year, just one after the other. But yeah, I so important, so big. And often I don't think people realize that their word is their wand, and how important that connection is. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, because I love that.
You're welcome.
Did I oversell her? I'm just kind of curious.
Oh no, that was an amazing, putting together of the sentiment. Yeah.
See, that's why I have so much fun, because I know she's going to hit it out of the park, and she did it again. So,
I do my best. It's great that we have easy guests that say so many profound things for me to draw upon.
There you go. Okay.
Good conversations.
Yeah. And then the final thing I like to do with each show, Zoe, is to tie into something that I noticed a few years ago, because now we live in the 21st century where we have all these new ways of communicating. I mean, she's in Alberta, Canada. I'm in Connecticut. You're in New Jersey. And we're having a conversation like it's in next door. We're in our living room and so forth. 30 years ago, that was impossible. Now it's like normal.
I love it.
And that's just one little piece of it. I mean, there's all this stuff that the technology has brought us that, it's connecting us together in ways that we were never able to connect together. And in the process, people like you coming onto a show like this or other podcasts or doing all the different things you're doing with Instagram or whatever else, you're sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, the things that you know is going to help other people. And you are helping other people, not just the people who are your clients, but you're helping people you've never seen. You don't even know where they're going with it. I notice we don't get credit for that. So Zoey, on behalf of those people you never met, never seen, never will meet, never will see, who you've been helping in ways you didn't know about, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you as well. And thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.